Cartoon that has been drawn by Stano today, and it's all about the protest and the opposition politicians after riots and the rioters after the riots. So you can see on one end who will actually be knocking back that wine and the sumptuous, of course, dinner there is the politician. But you, the rioter, after the riot, utakuwa unakula mawe, and you can see this is what the small parrot is telling the rioter there. James Nyikal. If you look at this, what do you decipher?
Well,
and of course,
I didn't have wine.
We'll come back to that as well. And if you've not looked on what we have in the Standard today, this is what Gado has drawn as well. House oversight role. And we can see this is the effective role that is supposed to be played by Parliament right now. But all these arrows and knives are jutting out and machete are jutting out from the back of the parliamentarians on their oversight role. They seem to be on a gunny. And
they are dead.
I need some advice. This is also what government is trying to grapple with right now on how to handle the protests. And who is being called there is, of course, members of East African community from Rwanda there and Uganda. Should we tell him their problem is a working constitution? Those are some problem questions they're being asked there. But let's hear from you, James Nyikal.
Well, when you say you are talking about dialogue, you know, in a greater concept, picketing and demonstration is part of dialogue. We are saying what we think needs to be discussed. If somebody wants to discuss it, what are we talking about? The cost of living, first and foremost. And I told you that when we had been going around, the cost of living, I was listening to, I think it was not your station, but another station, interviewing people in Nyeri, and they were saying, what they don't like about the riot is the stones being thrown. But they think, and let's not call them riots, what they don't like about the demonstrations, Mandamano, are the stones being thrown. But about food and the cost of living, they agree. And they were saying, if that is all that is there, then we can also come out and demonstrate. But the throwing stones, now it takes me back. Who initiates the throwing of the stones? I've said the police instigates it. So in terms of dialogue, in my mind, demonstration, picketing is saying what you are unhappy about. You expect the people in authority to respond in one way or another. One, it's not just by bringing the police. That's not a response.
Yeah.
We have not had any response.
Before we took a short break, I'd asked you about the church and how also there is a different voices coming from the church as well. We thought a church will be the last, port of call that we could actually go to try and bring the two heads together.
I thought that the church would do the same. Some churches have come, some churches have come differently. Again, that is spelling a disaster for the country. If at the highest level of moral authority, which is the church, they can't come together and agree on what is obvious. They don't even agree on the issue of the cost of living. The church that was saying that once you have won, then there is no need that it will be retrogressive, as to put it, to ask somebody who has won for a dialogue. I mean, listen to that. In fact, the person who has won is the person who should now respond to what we are saying through picketing and demonstration. I've told you we can't say it in Parliament, so where are we going to say it? So when we say it in the street, we expect somebody to come and say, this is how we are going to address the cost of living. This is how we are going to address the issue of electoral justice. Now, people have been saying that the elections are over, the court had decided, so that is the end. But let me take that, the ban. Even in courts, people have been actually convicted and sent to jail, some even hanged, and later on, evidence came that indicated that they were actually innocent. Retrials have been started long after the case had been closed because new information have come. When we have come with new information that is saying open the server, the only thing is open the server. You know, If you are closing your finger and somebody says, I think what you are carrying in your hand, your fist, is mine, and say, it's not yours, and I'm saying it is mine, all you have to do is to open and say, it's not yours. The more you continue to close your finger and hold that thing inside and hide it, the more I'm convinced that it is mine, and we can fight. If you just open and say, okay, that's not mine. Now, so if you really want, open the server. Now they are saying the server was opened at Bomas, that every information. What was at Bomas was actually the portal. The servers were not at Bomas. That is the issue. So we want to know what in the servers. And they can't say, now look at the what is happening in education. There was a feeling that the exams leaked, and there were some problems with the exams. The Committee on Education, the House Committee on Education, are saying they are going to ask for the servers to be open. We all know that actually opening the server will help. The cost of living. Say something. You can't say we removed the subsidies because they were not, and therefore now we are taking long-term measures that are going to reduce the cost of living. Give us time. In an emergency, you never just take long-term measures. You take three types of measures: immediate measure to help in the situation. Then you can take medium-term measures that will bring it, and then very long-term measures. Buying fertilizer, I think, is not long-term even, but it is something that can help. But are you going to tell people who cannot eat today that you have bought fertilizer, so you wait for 4 months and food will be available? You have to do something. If a house is burning because there's been electrical fault,
thank you.
You do not say, I'm correcting this and there'll be no further. You get fire.
Thank you.
Extinguishers.
Thank you. Let me hear from Professor Odwal on
so,
this.
But let me just say one thing. What I'm saying, actually, the dialogue has started. One side has refused, and a majority of the country has refused to take part in the dialogue, because in my mind, demonstration is the first statement, but something is wrong.
They don't want that form of a dialogue.
What form of dialogue do they want?
The dialogue that actually the church is calling upon is sit down, have a conversation on the way forward from this particular stalemate.
About what?
About your issues that you've raised.
We haven't had them. The big ones is the